Hello, I'm Anita, founder of Anita's List and host of the Anita's List podcast. Over the last 20 years, I've helped more than 12,000 first-time parents choose all their baby kit and prepare for parenthood, both practically and emotionally. I'm delighted to welcome the very lovely Clare Witton, a client of mine from over 18 years ago who now runs her own wonderful travel consultancy, Clare Witton Travel. Clare is our travel specialist at Anita's List and a true expert in her field. With Clare on your side, you'll not only spend your travel money wisely, but also save money you might otherwise have spent and discover places you might never even have had on your radar. We talk about Clare's journey from the corporate world into motherhood via the unexpectedly early arrival of her first child, a full 6 weeks early, through to setting up her own business based on Clare's life experiences and interests, so she could work more easily around her growing family. Clare also shares a few of her top tips for travelling with a baby. I so hope you enjoy our conversation and find it helpful too. Oh, I am so happy to welcome you, Clare, to the studio. My goodness me, my friend, my client from 18 years ago. I cannot believe it. And now a very, very important partner that we work together, which is very exciting.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, such a pleasure, such a pleasure. And remind me, how was it that you heard about me in the first place all those years ago?
Well, when I was pregnant, I was working at the time at JP Morgan and I was attending these fantastic antenatal classes with Christine Hill. And at the time, I was very, very disassociated, if you like, that I was actually having a baby.
Yeah.
I didn't allow myself to feel excited. I felt like I wouldn't, maybe I wouldn't get there, like I was really lucky. And so I was actually quite superstitious. And when I was at these classes, it was Christine Hill that said, how organised are you? Have you got everything together, et cetera, et cetera? And I was like, not yet. I've not bought a single item. And that was at the point when she said, I've got the perfect person for you. You need to speak to Anita. And I was like, okay, that's fine, off I go. And that was when I heard about you and that was it.
Wow. And Mimi's now doing her A-levels. She's literally sitting them today, isn't she?
Mimi is doing her A-levels.
Oh, my goodness me.
She is doing her A-levels.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I did Christine Hill's classes, actually, all those many moons ago. And can you imagine, I did 4 separate antenatal classes. So I did Christine's, NCT, another private class, and the hospital class. So in my quest for knowledge, extraordinary. But Christine was the goddess.
That is very typical, yeah. I mean, listen, I would just remember being in those classes and then really not knowing what world I was kind of propelled into.
Yeah.
And then leaving there and going to see you, and I can remember it like it was yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Me too. It's extraordinary, isn't it? Because actually expecting your first child is such a moment of huge transition.
Right.
And we don't know what we don't know. There's a lot of fear and overwhelm and yikes, can I really do this?
Yeah.
And I think I don't know about you, but I just couldn't quite believe I was having a baby until I saw Mia. I still can't. And Mia and Poppy are now 24 and 22.
Yeah.
I still can't quite believe it.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely extraordinary. And then Mimi decided to make a little early appearance.
Well, so that was the whole sort of farcical side to my pregnancy and then meeting you. I came to your showroom at the time and I thought I knew what I wanted. That was the first thing. It was a bugaboo and a cot.
Yeah.
And I thought that's pretty much what I need to get
nailed. Full stop.
in my meeting. And I was a bit unsure as to why 3 hours had been assigned. And sort of came into this sort of like really sort of beautiful, serene world. I think I was rushing. I'd been rushing. I'd been moving. I was on a BlackBerry. I was in a black suit. And I came in and I sort of sat in that sort of nursery window rocker. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, this is great. We're in a different world here. And just literally didn't have a clue. I thought we did look at bugaboos eventually. But I just remember how brilliant you were in terms of, it wasn't about the kit, actually. It was about my job, my lifestyle, you know, what I was going to be doing. And you just sort of very gently sort of guided me through the different elements. And that was everything from the beautiful cot, which I was allowed to look at, to then actually you need sort of 6 nice, perfectly white little baby grows and vests. And then it went down the line to sort of what I was putting in my hospital bag, to paper knickers, why, to sort of, you know, expressing machines, really. I mean, I just didn't have a clue.
But that's the thing, you don't know what you do. Why would you have known?
You just don't know.
You came flying in from this high powered job. I think it was on a weekend, or was it a midweek?
It was a midweek.
So you were midweek work.
I was in the evening.
Head.
I was in the evening slot.
Yeah. So tired anyway. And then
Yeah.
it was probably the first time you had a moment to actually, oh, okay, I'm actually having a baby.
Yeah.
Did Dan come as well? I can't quite remember. No,
Dad did not come. No, but then the wonderful thing about it as well is, because I was quite superstitious, I didn't want to buy anything. I didn't want anything at home. And so you then put together this whole list, and there were frugal elements to it. You know, I was then like, oh, what about the little pretty baby grows with the roses on? And you were like, no, just stick to the basics and what you need, and then you can build. Little did I know, and I would definitely be building. And you know, and then we just took it from there.
Yeah, so lovely. And then my memory of it is that I got a call from Dan.
That's right.
To say, Anita, you know how we're due in 6 weeks from now? Well, Imogen has arrived. Help. And actually, we love that moment if it ever happens, because we know we can really help at that point. And you'd gone through this huge experience and couldn't possibly think about anything other than Imogen being born, keeping her safe, keeping you safe.
Yeah. I mean, it was a total shock. Not only was she premature, I went into labour very quickly, and she was born within 2 hours of me going into labour and arriving at the hospital. Dan hadn't even visited the hospital. He didn't even know where it was. You know, I mean, we were completely green. And, you know, when we got there, it was, oh, you know, your daughter's going to be born in the next hour. And it was like, oh, you've got to be kidding
That's
me.
not in the plan. What do you mean?
That's not in my plan, which was actually, everyone found that really hilarious with work, because that was what my job involved, was obviously organising and planning.
Yeah.
So she made this appearance, and while I was in hospital, you actually had to go out and buy preemie little baby grows and vests, which you delivered to hospital, and then also unpacked everything for us at home, got everything ready, which was just amazing, because I mean, I was in, you know, you're in complete shock. I mean, you're in shock when you have a baby anyway, but
such a big thing. And actually then at that moment, for Dan to have gone out to buy all that, he wouldn't have come back with anything that was in your head. Then there would have been arguments, perhaps. And actually you wanted him by your side. That's the most important thing, that the three of you were together, nesting in at the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, you know, there is a lot of planning involved. And I think, going back to what Christine Hill was saying, you know, you do need to plan, even though you sort of think you don't, or you can sort of leave things, or, I mean, some people, other sort of, you know, of my friends in my antenatal class who I'm still friends with, some of them really knew, they had some items, but then there was still so much that you don't know, you can't possibly know. So really having that time to plan is fantastic.
And it's a conundrum, isn't it? Because you're right, we are all a little bit superstitious, and you don't want to go too soon. But if you leave it too late, you don't really feel like it. You think you will. You think, oh my gosh, great, I'm going to finish work a couple of weeks before and I'll sort it out then. But actually, you might not feel like it. And it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because the kit is probably about the one thing we are in control of. And we think we're in control of our due dates. And the due date really is it's a guide, isn't it, as to when the baby might appear. But actually they could come early, as we know. But the urban myth is that your first baby always comes late. But actually, from everything I've seen, that is such a myth.
Well, that was my first learning about motherhood, was nothing ever goes to plan.
Yeah.
So that was with, you know, the birth, but also my labour, which I'm not going to go into, but just there were never any stages with me. So actually,
well, you would just go right to the end.
All of those antenatal classes, they never quite mapped out. I was like, hang on, what happened to that moment?
Yeah. And I think that's such a good piece of advice for anyone who's pregnant, actually, is possibly the best birth plan is to have no plan, because it'll never go to plan.
No.
However, and if you're planning it to within a millimetre of its life, and it doesn't go to plan, then you could really feel like you failed. And yet you've just made a human being.
Yeah.
Incredible superhero by any standards. So, you know, you and the baby going home safely from hospital is the plan.
It's
full
the
stop.
main thing.
Yeah.
It's the main priority.
Yeah. And then you had lovely Mimi, and thought that would be that. You know, I've got my baby kit, and off you danced into the sunset. But I think we spoke a couple of months afterwards, didn't we?
I think when I was pregnant with Imogen, and I was working at JP Morgan, I had a couple of moments, and I still look back to these moments even now. I was surrounded by a fantastic group of women, interestingly, who were my bosses. They're incredibly sort of dynamic, intelligent, inspiring people. Some are my clients and some are my mentors, 2 of them. And it was just, actually, I look back and I just think, God, how lucky I was. And one of them, Carol Lake, turned around to me and she said, Claire, what do you think you're going to do? You know, how do you feel? You know, you're about to go off on maternity leave. And I was like, oh, I'm definitely, you know, I was really serious. And I was like, I'm definitely coming back. That's definitely happening. You know, I probably would say about 6 months. And she was just so brilliant, because she looked at me and she just said, if I can give you one piece of advice, it's don't have any preconceptions. And I was like, but I'm coming back.
But it's me. I love this work.
I love my work. I love the people that I work with. I love the environment. You know, it's great. I'm definitely going to be back. And then I think, you know, I had Imogen, and you're sort of you're propelled into this completely different world. You know, we lived in Wandsworth at the time, which I understand is Nappy Valley, but everybody around me, there were, you know, was completely different. There were bugaboos, there were children, there were muffins, you know, there were people going to sort of Amanda's Action Kids, and it was just a completely different world. And I thought to myself at the time, I can't go back, because this is my little baby. She's, I mean, I fell in love with her completely. I didn't want to be separated from her. She's obviously, you know, that was just my personal experience. And I needed to look after her, and I loved every single minute of it. And with my maternity leave, I, you know, did have the advantage of having, you know, an extended time to sort of consider all my options. And so I didn't actually ever then go back.
What an amazing boss you had to seed that.
Yeah.
To almost give you permission that it was okay to think about not going back before you were even ready to consider that. Do you think because Imogen was premature, you felt less inclined to leave her? Do you think that had something?
I think definitely that has a huge amount to do with it, because, I mean, when we first got her, she, you know, we were just feeding her every 2 hours over a 24-hour period. I mean, nothing.
And through a tube at that point?
No.
Or was she big enough at that point?
No, I was expressing and then feeding. So we were literally on a 2-hour sort of, you know, circuit.
And that's because her tummy is so small, isn't it? She can't take more.
Yeah. So it's the size of a Coke can over 24 hours.
Yeah, amazing.
And then they have to be kept very still, premature babies, and they have to be swaddled, quite tightly, kept in sunshine, not overstimulated. And obviously it was absolutely exhausting, and no one prepares you. I mean, when you have a baby, you've got sleep deprivation. And so I think that definitely played a part. But obviously, you know, nothing. I was just one of those people that then I was like, okay, I'm not quite ready yet. I knew I would, but not as soon as I thought.
Yeah. Amazing. And then what? So then we spoke, I think, a couple of months afterwards, when you were like, I might need something else. which was great. So I loved that, and hearing that you were all well and Imogen was thriving, and it's that lovely relationship that you have, because you came in to buy baby kit, but actually what was lovely is we were chatting, as you say, it's more than about the kit, really. It's how can I help you enjoy Imogen and the little one as much as possible by having the right kit around you, so you can get out of the house and travel.
Was amazing. I think that was amazing. We really connected, and so any advice that I do have for anybody is to surround yourself with lots of like-minded people. It's just so invaluable. And then as I say, we really connected on an intellectual level and on a sort of business level and a friendship level. And I'm always a believer in sort of combining medicine with other means. And I was reading a book at the time called Gary Mother, which is
lovely. Gary, amazing. Another
the
legend.
gentle method, and that's what I did apply with my birthing. But I also did apply that through the first years, and and then on, and so I had that experience with you, because you do need, in India, when women have babies, they have a sort of a 40-day period, which is to allow the mother to rest so that she can feed, so that she can recover from the birth, so that she's surrounded. I think women do, if possible, move back home or with their aunties or sisters, so that they're surrounded by people all the time. And obviously, in our modern society, that just doesn't happen. So people can feel very lonely and isolated. And you were definitely part of I had lots of lovely friends around, and my mummy and lots of different people. And you were another sort of prong to that, because I could phone you and ask for, really important advice. And that carried on over the years. So initially it was, I need to think about spoon feeding broccoli and butternut squash, which, by the way, they
Very
don't
mucky.
eat ever again.
So true. You spent hours making this.
And I need a high chair. And then it would be, I'm actually planning a trip to Singapore. I don't really know. I can't take that bugaboo that was my initial big thing on my wish list. What can I do? Then I had spinal surgery. Hi, Anita. I really need some help, actually, because Imogen's going to need some, like a nanny. Who can you advise? And also, post-surgery, preparing then to have another baby. And then, Oliver was born. And then it just kept going. I mean, it's just like little gift birth announcement cards and stationary photography. Just so many wonderful things came out of it. Sue Hill and her little cashmere knitted sweaters with embroidery on them,
And then Imogen became a model.
She
Sue Hill's
did.
cardigans,
She
didn't
did. She did.
Your beautiful children.
She did.
But I love that, because it's a long conversation that we never want to end, because there are so many different things. And then from a work perspective, when you were ready to go back to work, you used your transferable skills, didn't you, to go back into the world that you loved. Was it ballet, the world of ballet that you went to?
Yeah, so first? Initially obviously my work always involved international travel, whether that was for the Adam Smith Institute, that was my first job, and organising international conferences, really sort of travelling between St. Petersburg, Moscow and London, and then working for JP Morgan. And then what I did actually was at the time, the only option was to go back full time, and that wasn't an option.
Oh, that's such a good point, because we're talking 18 years ago, and now post-COVID, it's so much easier to work part-time, work from home. It was absolutely not on the table, was it then?
And not on the table at all. No. But what they did do, which was brilliant, was say, look, we can't give you any flexibility at all, but can you come and consult for us? So I did do that for sort of a couple of years on and off, which was really, really brilliant. And then after having Oliver, I worked for the National Youth Ballet.
Amazing.
Because that was something I was really sort of, within my job at JP Morgan, I was really lucky. We did the sort of the fun bits, if you like. We were within investment banking.
Yeah.
And we had to, have all of those skills in terms of being in this sort of fast-paced environment and, traveling a lot and sort of bringing the bank's ultra-high net worth clients together. But then, we did all the marketing and we did, all of that side and events. And then when this position came up, and it was local, actually, because I knew the founder of the National Youth Ballet, they were like, oh, well, you can organise, sort of road shows across the country and different areas. And you could put on a performance, you could work with the artistic director and all the creative teams and put together something at Sadler's Wells. And I worked again with a very inspiring artistic director who was just wonderful and an incredible group of people. So I did that for sort of 3 years. And really then thought, okay, now my children are a bit older and I'm still using those skills. What can I do now? And what I'd always loved was writing. I did always love my travel. And so with my background, I then decided that I could do it. Now was the time to do it. Did I want to write, or did I want to sort of organise? And actually, again, it sort of happened. Somebody wonderful said, look, why don't you do it? You can do it. This would be great. This is how you do it. And it went from there.
But how brilliant. And this is another thing we have in common, because actually, the travel, because I was born in Africa and then moved countries every 3 years, and India and Singapore and Turkey and Cyprus and all of that jazz. You grew up in Dubai, I think, didn't you? And that lovely travel bug that just gets in your system. And you travelled a lot yourself. Aside from organising everyone else's travels.
We have that hilarious background because we were on those unaccompanied minor flights.
From when we were tiny. And you had do you remember you have a thing around your neck with unaccompanied minor, and off you go. I mean, I went to India for the first time. Can you just
tell that story, because it's so good?
I mean, I think, so we were living in Singapore. I was 8 and my brother and parents moved from Singapore to India during that autumn term. I, meanwhile, had come over to school here. I don't think I ever remember wearing closed shoes. I remember September in England was really cold, because if you think about it, I'd lived in Africa and India. A little bit of time here, but I can't really remember that. And it was just cold, and it was 3 months, and then off I went to India on my own, aged 8, and you had to get off the plane in Dubai or Kuwait because the planes weren't going to take on enough fuel to go all the way to Delhi. And so off we went, and on we went. And I remember tugging at the coattails of the guy in front going, is this the plane to Delhi? Yes, absolutely.
Insane.
And then Dad came to collect me at 4 a.m. And I think British Airways had forgotten to put me on their unaccompanied minors list. And I had literally travelled to India on your own. No mobile phones, of course. But I wasn't worried. I was completely chill, because there was nothing for me to be worried about, because I didn't really know anything. I travelled a bit before. And I think I didn't let Mira and Poppy go on the underground till they were 16 pretty much. So different times. But we got given huge boxes of chocolates and wisps and crunchy bars. I mean, all those retro things. Always went up to say hi to the captain. Actually, it was really fun. It was really fun when you were on the plane, but coming back to the UK after that was not so fun. When you had to say goodbye to your parents, and that was a tricky one.
I mean, it was a peripatetic childhood. It was Dubai, Malawi, Houston, New York.
And these were all
Ethiopia,
the places you lived in
Singapore.
for 3 or 4 years at a time.
Yeah. I mean, I went to boarding school when I was 11, but
Yeah. And then visiting in the holidays, that was it. And actually, my parents as well were great with trips in the holidays. So we had amazing experiences. And so that you don't realise how lucky that is until after you've experienced, I guess, all of that. And then that's in your system. And then you'll think, well, I write quite well and I love it. I really love travelling. How can I wrap that all up into a job that's
exactly it. Exactly it. And that's flexible, that you can do, alongside a family, and it is an interesting dynamic. I
Yeah.
do really enjoy it because I get to do what I call the fizzy stuff, which
Yeah.
is, there are some great people in the industry. It's such a fun sort of dynamic place to be, and you're constantly learning. I love that side of it. So obviously it's not about hotel openings, it's about different destinations or
Yeah.
what people are doing within those different places. And it is a quest because I'm not a specialist in terms of, say, being a ski specialist. I'm much more into curating experiences for people in the very in a very similar vein to how you work with as a baby expert. You're just getting to know people really, really well.
Yeah.
And trying to work out what the best thing is and how to maximize and how to give them confidence in the same way that you do with motherhood and mothers, and how to give people confidence and really sort of experience things that they haven't really maybe thought about.
It's amazing what you do. And so it's really personal travel expert. I'd say goddess, really, but expert will do for now. But it's that thing, if you really get familiar with that particular client or family, and whether it's organising a baby moon or a honeymoon. We have lots of clients who get married after their baby, or intergenerational holidays, family holidays. And it's the details, I think, because everyone is on a tight budget. Money is tricky for everybody. So, and if you're going to take time and spend money, you want to really make sure you're spending both of those wisely. And the extraordinary, because I always, and I think probably perhaps the misconception about a personal travel expert is, oh my gosh, they must be really expensive. I can't, that's not for me. That's only for someone who has pots of money, and no. But actually, can you explain to us how you operate? Because I think this is amazing. And I think what we both do has so many parallels, because actually you do for travel what I hope to do for baby kit and new parenthood. And it's that really we will ultimately save people money and time.
Yeah, because there are such strong parallels, which is why I'm sort of very grateful to be part of your offering as well. It's my experience was I went along and I was sort of thrown into it. I didn't realise I needed that service. I didn't even know it existed, and I think a lot of people would think the same. And I would also say it's not for spoilt people. I know, Anita, you've got some fabulous people on your books, but I'm not one of those people. But when you go, and as I say, there was some very frugal elements to the consultation, and a big steer in terms of focusing on your priorities, and you could really, you're sort of bringing people back to what's really, really important. So I would say, do I need, an alarm or a nice sort of sound thing in the room that sort of makes whale sounds? Actually, do I need to have a sort of a self rocker? And then you were like, actually, but what's going on with your feeding at the moment? I was like, oh yeah, no, what I really need is a very quick expressing machine that doesn't make sounds like a cow.
Yes.
Can you please help me find that? And so it's basically about really guiding people through the process. And it's, some people will have different budgets, and you're going to work accordingly. And it's the same way with my business. I think you're never taking away from people what they love to do. I think so many of my clients love to map out, or they love to sort of pre-plan and sort of look. I mean, some will phone and they'll be just, can you sort it?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
Most people come with an idea, or they've dreamt about something, or they've been thinking about something for a while, and they've already done, their research. But what is lovely is either to sort of interface with that and think about the nuances within that, whether that's going to work, whether it's even the right time. And then sometimes you come up with something completely different because they'll be just thinking bog standard, for example, a family, right, I need to go away. I need to do it now because I've read that it's going to be very busy in October half term. So, but actually you can move outside of those boundaries, and you can sort of take people to different places, places that will give them a lot more for their money, that will give them so many different varied experiences as a family, and that is happening a lot. So people
It's so
are
special, that.
learning
Yeah.
through those experiences when they're abroad.
Yeah.
Whether it's having a sort of a particular history tour while they're staying in Sri Lanka, because that's what they're very, very interested in, or they're studying their children are studying something at school, or sport, or sort of it really, really depends. And so very, very similar to your business. It's a service which is going to ultimately be of huge benefit, and it doesn't, it works within the parameters of each family. Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? And actually the intergenerational holidays now are a really big thing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Where you've got grandparents
Yeah.
and babies
Yeah.
and teenagers, and you've got to cater for all three. That must be an interesting challenge. So that everybody leaves that holiday thinking that was the best holiday ever.
Yeah, because it's so important. And sometimes you have grandparents obviously funding it, which is a really, it's an important thing to
Generous,
say, but very generous. And they obviously have that time. Everybody's mostly rushing around, I think, in the busy world that we live. And some clients will take their children away just for one-on-ones, or that multi-generational sort of holiday where it's safaris or villas, or it really, really depends. Again, it's very dependent on where all the dynamics of that family live, and how they normally travel, and what they're looking to achieve. And it can be quite challenging to find what they need.
But you love a challenge, Claire. Oh, but and then the other thing is traveling with a baby, which can be so stressful. I mean, I had a really tough time leaving the house actually for the first few weeks, let alone going onto a plane. And so equipping people with the confidence that actually traveling with a baby under one is much easier than when they're over one and running up and down the aisles. When you have two children, oh my gosh, why did I not travel more when I had just one child? But when you're going from a couple or a solo parent traveling on your own to traveling with a baby, wowzers, that can be super stressful. Any top tips for traveling with a baby?
I mean, it's eye-opening. I mean, my top tips are that I wouldn't overthink it. I mean, I've been in a really sort of advantageous position, and I did it as a child constantly. And so, our parents were very much sort of the view, it's like you just move, you go with the flow. I mean, it was so those little tips that I would pick up. So I think I can give people confidence in that regard, because I think when you have had a baby or you've got little children, I mean, it's so wonderful wherever you're going to have that time. And for some people, they would love to just have someone else bring them a cup of coffee in the morning. It is utter bliss to have that time. And it's worth every moment. I mean, I think you can think too much about the actual journey. In my experience, it can go really wrong in terms of there's nothing you can do if your child is teething or they're screaming. As long as you're making the effort and you're basically doing your best, you're not going to annoy anybody else. Nobody even notices.
They really don't. Yeah.
And you just sort of, I can talk to you another time about, endless lists that people have.
Let's have another chat about, let's go granular on traveling with a baby. That would be so, because we could talk for an hour just on that subject.
But I think the big thing about it now is everything is so much more geared up than people think. And there's so much kit, and there's so much help available in hotels or villas or, wherever, that it doesn't have to be.
No, I always think it's a bit like alternative living rather than travel. So if you have a few of your key pieces of kit with you, you will feel calmer, because often, we're so happy in our own nest. We know how the sterilizer works. We know where we can take the pram. We know where the doctor
Yeah.
is. And so actually as a mum, and I think really as a mum, because dads are wonderful and supportive and etc., but we have a very different relationship with needing to be in control with our baby Kit and our baby. And I remember, I'm half Swiss, Capricorn, nightmare for needing to be in control. So my first travel, poor Joey, we had so many things. We literally took the big sterilizer, we took everything, but that was the only way that I felt calm. And so we had the sterilizer in the hotel room. Can you imagine? But I knew that was it. I knew I had to do that, because if I then had to sterilize in the hotel kitchen microwave, I was going to have a meltdown. And so actually it might seem ridiculous to take a sterilizer on holiday, but if that keeps you as a mum happy, and it's not crazy, I think, to take 2 prams. If you have a teeny tiny travel pram that goes into the overhead locker, fantastic for the journey, because as we all know, planes can be delayed, and then your baby is safely in a pram. But then if you're going somewhere for 3 or 4 weeks, then you check in your bigger pram so you can do all the big walks and everything else when you're there. Or if you're going for a weekend, obviously you just need, I think, a pram. If you just take the baby carrier, everyone's too hot and stressed when you're traveling. You know, you can definitely travel with a baby carrier, but actually if you had a teeny tiny traveling pram, it's going to be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, cleanliness is a big thing for me. So, I mean, I've always been wipes and hygiene is really important. Yeah. And little portable sterilizers and, you know, bottles that are pre-sterilized. It is really, really nice and easy in that regard. Yeah. I mean, we had such a hilarious trip actually with Oliver when he was first born. So we were flying, Dan had bought it as a present, and we were traveling to St. Lucia, and I was in complete baby brain mode, and Dan was like, oh, you do realise that is Isla Fisher and that is Sacha Baron Cohen. I was like, no. Anyway, it turned out that they were in very close proximity to us, but just goes to show, you know, they had it nailed. They were like, we're going to just sort of divide and conquer. So one would be on children while the other one slept. Such a good tip. And then
good tip.
Yeah. And then for the next 3 hours, next person was on duty. So that other person was not to be disturbed, and they could watch films. And anyway, we had sort of mazes baskets, and you know, Oliver was only about 6 weeks. We had all the paraphernalia, and it was like, they were super nice. They were like helping us and carrying it, and just, we were all one happy family, reading Charlie and Lola to Mimi. So I mean, it's, you just get all through. Everyone's in it together, really. I think
so. If you're a parent and you have children, you see someone else with a little one who's having a tough old time on the plane, you just want to help, because we've all been there. We've all been, and it's surprising because you think in that moment you've stopped the plane and everybody's listening. It's so embarrassing, but actually, really,
and it's just worth everything when you get there.
Yeah,
especially
and
if you
want
chilled, sunshine.
Do you find if you're chilled, they're chilled? There is a lot to be said for that. Yeah. But it's very easy for us to get quite stressed when we're travelling in any case. So.
And very tired.
Yeah, yes, very tired. Oh my goodness me. And so now you're in this happy position, and Imogen's 18, Oliver's 16, 14. And you have your own business. I mean, Clare, Witton Travel. You've done it. You've launched it.
Well, I've launched it.
You've launched it. You're out there.
It's good.
It's incredible, really brilliant. And when you take on clients, it's mostly word of mouth, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely word of mouth. And it's really through recommendations. Yeah. Or people who've used me, or who've basically heard of me, and they come to me. It takes quite a while, I think, for people to cross that line. And just they want to sort of get to know you.
It's a big trust thing, isn't it? And why do you love it? Because I know you love it. It goes like coursing through your veins, this job of yours. You absolutely love it. What is it?
It's just really, I think, it's really fun. It's really interesting still, because intellectually learning and constantly going, because within this wonderful world that we live in, there's just so much to see and do. And you, even with my background, I've got other fellow sort of travel enthusiasts within our wonderful community, because everybody is really supportive, who have done so much. And it's, that's what I love, is it's a constant learning. It is using my experience. Yes, I've got that both in terms of my background and my corporate experience. But it's also working with people. So it's bringing that to people. And then I just really, really enjoy doing that for them and actually opening their eyes, as I've said before, in different ways.
And you're leaving them with experiences, memories. That's the thing. It's priceless, really, isn't it? You know, it's absolutely extraordinary. And I think as a parent, you know, time with our children is precious.
Yeah.
And especially as a working mum, my goodness, the juggle is real. And the children remember those moments. They won't remember the moments you came home from work and spent time with, you know, and sort of we feel it's frazzled. They remember the times you spend with them. And then the times you have with them on holiday are just times 100 in terms of memories. And then, of course, photos. You look back in the albums and do you remember when? And it's extraordinary, really. And then giving them the gift of knowledge that actually traveling, there's so much we don't know. And there's so much of the world to explore. And the other thing is that you do holidays locally. So you don't need to travel afar. So when budgets are tight or time is tight, a night in the UK, you make that wonderful as well. So it doesn't need to be a whole 2-week, 3-week extravaganza. It could be a 6-month thing that you can plan, but, you know, it could be a weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I think back to what you were saying as well, I read somewhere recently that someone had said, oh, there's no point in doing that with your children. They won't remember. And I was really horrified because it's just as much for the parents or the grandparents as it is for the children. I mean, I think it's just so important, and time is really, really precious. So I do think that, you know, recently when I've been organising or helping people plan, for example, you know, someone's taking quite small children away, they're doing a big driving trip through Canada. I think, you know, he was just so excited by what he didn't know. I think there were lots that he had in place and that we were sort of adding to. But equally, I think that we sort of really gave him sort of an extra, I mean, information, but it's more than that. You know, it was more about what they can experience and what they're going to feel and what they're going to be doing, and jumping, you know, pulling by the side of the road and seeing moose and stopping or jumping into rock pools and, you know, and then maybe doing sort of some sort of glacier walk. And he was just, you know, I think he knew, but he sort of didn't know. So I do those, what I call wild adventures, or those big, you know, those big trips, but also equally
marking big birthday
and that's a
well.
really big thing. Lots of people mark those lovely celebrations. You know, I've got actually a lovely client through National Youth Ballet. It's just so lovely how people find you. And they're planning their 25th wedding anniversary. They're going to sort of Chile together, and she's surprising her husband. So it's just really, really lovely. So I do have those big...
Will he be happy to be surprised? That's the thing. Hopefully she knows him well enough now after 25 years.
I know, she has surprised him, but not told him where. But he will be. And you've then got, you know, not everybody wants to do those all the time. I mean, the idea is that once you use me, you can use me for anything. Just a tiny little night in London, because I might know just the place, or I can quickly sort it. You know, the brief changes.
And then if that happens, could you almost concierge it? Like, right, I'd love to have a night in London. Actually, I'd like to go to the theatre because it's a special evening. That's amazing. And then price-wise, how does that work? Because if they're booking at the hotel or you're booking it for them, are they actually paying the same price as if they would be
always
going
in
directly?
terms of, so if it's just quick sort of hotels that you can quite often see maybe on booking.com or you know, maybe they've seen it themselves and they might, oh, but if I go to the hotel direct. But I work through a consortium and that enables me to have these lovely memberships with Virtuoso or My Little Emperors or Serendipians. And that means that I can, depending, I will be comparing pricing and also value added. So that could be a breakfast, or it could be an upgrade, or it could be credit. £250 or
Yeah.
a spa
Yes.
treatment. It really depends. And then I'll
Yes.
sort of weigh it all up and then.
Yeah.
And so with me, they sort of tend to get those extra bits.
And that's the magic, really, isn't it? Because you'll also get to know your clients really well, to the point where, yes, they like to have a certain drink or a certain experience. So you set that up often as a little surprise for them.
Yeah, always.
Just as unexpected.
Always.
Like, oh my
There's
gosh,
always
Claire knows
little
me
flutters.
so well. Little flutters of
Yeah,
magic.
that's the fun
little
bit.
glimmers.
That's
yeah.
what I like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love making people feel happy. If I know them, which I do get to know them.
Yeah.
You know, if I can surprise them with a drink 2 days into a holiday, or if it's, I mean, the joy as well is if you know someone's in town, moving aside from, say, the Taylor Swift effect, but which has been a big thing.
Yes.
In terms of determining where people are going as well.
Yeah.
But if you know that there's, you know, if there's a particular race happening, or it could be a concert, or, you know.
Yeah.
Then you can plan accordingly.
Yeah. Because actually a lot of pregnant people don't want to fly. So the amazing explosion of beautiful hotels in the last 20 years in the UK. So you can just get on a train or go in a car and have a really special time. So it's not that you have to get on a plane to go away. And even with a new baby, you know, you might not want to fly for the first 6 months.
Which I totally appreciate, because I totally appreciate that. It's such a good point. And I think within the UK there are some fantastic hotels that have really opened up, and there's such a range. And you know, whether it's Scotland or whether it's within cities or sort of, you know, Cornwall or, you know, wherever it is. Then there are some amazing experiences that these places now lay out, and so you, as you say, you can really have a fantastic time.
And actually,
exploring.
A lot of them, have pregnancy massages and are very conscious of the looking after pregnant people.
And also you've got the health side of things. You know, when you are pregnant, you know, it is so lovely to nurture and to have that time. And basically, I would advise going away and sleeping for a week if you can. But just you know, just to relax. There's so many.
Amazing. And the baby moon, of course, the rise of the baby moon. I mean, that started a few years ago, didn't it? But
what happened to the honeymoon?
What happened to the honeymoon? I know. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Baby
A lot of people are
moon,
deferring honeymoons because they've got to go back to work. So they've had so much time off.
That's right.
Over the wedding preparations.
Baby moon, mega moon.
What's the mega moon?
So a baby moon is a little sort of preempt.
Yes.
Sometimes before, you know, it's either before you're going to have a baby, or it can be a baby honeymoon, like a little thing. Yeah. Then people have the wedding, and then they'll go on a mega moon, which is a big trip, and they might sort of do that 6 months after the wedding.
Love that. Can we do that 30 years after the wedding? Love that idea.
Or there's the big sort of destination wedding.
Yes.
And obviously people are quite often.
Yeah.
You know, they might already have their children, and then they might be getting married.
And do you organise those as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness,
I know.
Claire. We all need you in our life. We all need you. So do you remember, as if it were yesterday, the first time you travelled as a family of 3 with Imogen?
Yeah, I do remember
feeling.
it. I remember it really clearly. We were going to Singapore, so we were doing long haul, and I did call you. Amazing. You gave me your top tips about what equipment I needed, and I did actually buy another little pushchair which folded into like microscopic sort of pieces that we could strap on backs, and then of course what I wasn't prepared for was the fact that she screamed the entire way, and I stood in the well between the bit where the stewardesses stand, because she was teething with the altitude, there's nothing you could do. She was not sleeping. And it was like, I think Dan and I just got to the point of hysteria and laughter where it was like, we haven't eaten. It's the first flight we've ever been on, and we haven't watched a film. We're not sleeping at all, like 14 hours later. So that was a really good experience. She did it on the way back as well, bless her. And then finally, when she got home, she was just so relieved. I remember we popped her down. She was sort of sitting up at that point, and she just looked around. She was like, "Oh my God, thank goodness." What have you been doing to me? But
but actually, when you were there, how old was she?
She was 1.
Okay.
She was 1. So
but
it's
settled
just
when you were
amazing.
there. It was just the actual trip on the plane that she wasn't.
I mean, they don't
so happy.
really settle. I mean, you can have all sorts of different tips about jet lag and how that's going to be, and flying at different times and what that's going to be. But I think at the end of the day, you just create the same routine. My biggest tip is I was a big routine person with my children. It worked really for me. Because I'm a planner, and and I just really created that same routine. So we would get up at the same time, even if it was a real struggle. We'd pop her down to naps at the same time, and then quite quickly sort of adjust, and they feel she did feel very sort of comfortable. That really worked for us.
Yeah, brilliant. So stick to the routine.
Stick to the routine.
Top tip number 1. I think. If I might put one in, I used to take my own sheets for Mia and Poppy. So they'd been washed in your washing liquid. Because if you have a travel cot in a hotel or a villa, the sheets are really bleached, and then sometimes little ones can have rashes on their cheeks the morning they wake up after sleeping on the hotel sheets, and you're obviously worried because you think it's something else, but it might simply be that they've bleached the sheets. So that was an interesting one. The minute I started doing that, and she smelt her own familiar smell on the sheets, the sleeping actually
it's
settled
such
really
a good
well.
tip. And combine that with a bit of sort of lavender oil or tea tree oil. That's a nice natural sort of germ killer. But I think do away with worrying about the volume of nappies. You can buy those wherever you are, and if you're going to hotels, they stock them. You don't need to really worry about nappies. Just have enough for you when you're traveling. But
formula.
definitely.
What about formula?
Yeah, well, if you're breastfeeding, then that's fine. And then formula, I would always take it. Yeah. But again, I mean, if you're going to Italy, I think you've become so hung up. It's like you can, I think Mimi had goat's milk, and we could find that, and you sort of freak a bit. You think, oh no, they're not going to have that. They're not going to have it. And then they sort of do. And you think, okay, that's okay. So I think it's step by step, by step.
Yes.
And obviously ears with little ones on planes, I think that's the biggest thing. So dummies, and milk.
Feeding. And if your baby is not using a dummy, what are the top tips for landing and taking off? Because that can take ages, and you can circle for ages. It's a really tough moment, that, isn't it?
It is.
Because they can't necessarily feed from a bottle or breastfeed for all that time.
Yeah. It's much easier when they're tiny, when you can also, you can sort of help them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love that we're holding
feeding.
our boobs.
I know.
We talk about breastfeeding.
Oh my God.
Much easier.
Feeding was, feeding when you're sort of before takeoff and when you're landing sometimes, but then if they fed too much, it can make them sick. So
there's some quite good products, like Stocker has this great thing called what is it called? Jet Kids. It's like a little suitcase that's on wheels that you can pack with their things, but it also opens out into a little bed. So you can elongate your airline seat so that your little one can lie down.
Nice.
Lovely. Because if they're comfortable, then everyone's a bit more comfortable.
So I was about to say as well, just I wouldn't worry about the things like nappies. It's things like teddies, their little teddies, and their personal items, like going back to the sheets, and then and their routine is more important.
Yeah. And not to be too fearful, and just take a deep breath and go. Because it's very easy to not, if you can.
Yeah, I think obviously I'm in travel and I love it. And I think what that can bring you as a family, especially with these winters that we're having, it's so cold and dark. So don't be fearful. And when you get to the other side and you're in that warm sun, somebody's bringing you a cup of tea, and it just is wonderful. And you're also, again, going back to people, you're surrounded by busyness and sort of lots of people, and a different outlook and a different perspective, because obviously being a mummy and you're at home and you're in that very sort of Groundhog Day, it's literally getting up, feeding, you're in that routine. which is very lovely. But equally, when you go away and you see other places and you smell, it's so much about you as the mum and, you know, and as parents and, you know,
as a couple, actually, spending time together. Like
yeah,
long chunks of time, which you probably haven't had
yeah,
the opportunity
it's just
to.
so nice to do. So
Yeah,
I would always be
amazing.
trying it.
Amazing. And if I were to ask you for your top one pearl of wisdom that you would give to anyone expecting a baby,
Yeah,
what might it be?
it's very simple. Just don't have any preconceptions. So I think that, you know, there's this sort of whimsical attitude that when you have children that, you know, and I think it still exists as women, that you are all going to give birth naturally to the sound of whales, and it's going to be smooth running, and it's going to be fantastic. And I think that it's not determined. The birth is not determined. You and also you don't know how you're going to be afterwards. And I think if you go in with that attitude of not having that, you know, specific sort of set of criteria, I think it's just really liberating, because at the end of the day, that lovely sort of antenatal specialist, who is just amazing, said very clearly, not every woman is going to be able to, you know, give birth naturally. That's just the way your pelvis is shaped. It's just that is the way it is. And I think that if you can rid as a woman those sort of preconceived, determined ideas without guilt, that's the first step. And then the second step, as I say, is don't have any preconceived ideas, because, you know, you're going to have this momentous change happening to you, and it really is momentous. And you don't know how you're going to be, and it might, you just sort of move and change and, you know, evolve. And for some, I mean, I don't think I've met any of my friends that had children that where they then did what they thought they were going to do.
Yes.
Some went back to work straight away, and that was great, and that worked, and that's and they never thought they would.
Yes, interesting.
You know, and there's so many different there are so many different influences that determine that.
It's amazing now. I think this generation now, because we're of a different generation.
Yeah.
And mums now, I think, are in a really interesting position that there are more options about how you work and how you weave family into work. I mean, we really were work as if you don't have children and be a mum as if you don't have a job. It was tough doing the juggle. The juggle's still never easy, but actually if you can I always think there's a harmony thing. If you can harmonize working and being with your children so that everybody's happy.
Yeah, I would agree.
Then that's a great thing. And everybody's different. I think, to your point, look at your experience. You thought it was going to go one way. You were so clear, and you're the ultimate planner.
Yeah.
And isn't that interesting? I think sometimes life has a way of making situations different to what we expected them. And in there is a great learning, because I'm sure as a result of Imogen arriving 6 weeks early, you changed. Obviously, you became a mother, so you changed massively. But that knowledge that actually things don't always go to plan.
Which was a big thing for me. And you came through it. Yeah, and it was really good, because everybody laughed, because out of all the people that it could happen to, the fact that it happened to me was really, really funny.
I think it was deliberate.
And
I think it was the universe.
Almost like, if you think that this is going to how it's going to be, you're not right. And I exactly, I just think that that's what happens. And I think also, you know, you then begin to surround yourself with just, I don't want to say like-minded, but you'll find out along the way who are your people, really. And those people for me have continued, and they've stayed, they've existed, they were there at JP Morgan.
Your cheerleaders, really.
They're still there, you know, inspiring. They were at the time, but now sort of actually guiding, and also, you know, one or two are clients. And then, you know, you and I, and then if I'm doing something and I need a a moment of, oh, I've got to do this. I don't know if I can do this, or, yes, you can, or, vice versa. So I just think it just evolves and you just move with the right
It's
people.
lovely that, isn't it? And surrounding yourself with, I guess one is now creating one's own village. Because in days gone by, we were really lucky as women having children that the village was already there. And everything, you had your aunties and your grannies and your sisters, everyone was around.
Yeah.
Whereas particularly in a city like London, which is very transient, very few of us are actually from London.
Yeah.
And so actually it can be really isolating because the arrival of social media doesn't necessarily help, because everyone look like they've got everything totally under control. But of course, we don't. We're all learning on the job.
Yeah.
I'm still learning every day. I've never had a 24 and a 22-year-old. So constantly learning and enjoying the moment. I think that's the key, just enjoy it as in the chaos and the trouble and doing the best we can, I think. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for
I've had such a lovely
me.
time.
Thank you for having
I feel we could
me.
chat on for days, couldn't we? Thank you so much. And we'll see you again. We'll have another chat about specifics on travel, which would be fab.
Yes.
Okay, lots of love.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you've enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please do like, share and subscribe to our Anita's List podcast show to stay up to date with our latest conversations. Together, we can all be part of the village to support new parents.